So we are starting our podcast together officially. Today's topic is friendships. Friends over time, friends in different cities, long distance friendships. Let's talk about New York.
Okay.
And like how friendships probably work slightly differently here, or or in your opinion how they're similar or different.
Yeah. So the time that I moved here was during COVID. So it was a period where not many people were traveling around. Also, it wasn't mainstream for a lot of Bay Area people to suddenly move over to New York. And I felt like during COVID, that was in the masses. Like so many people were moving in at that time. But because I was in the earlier part of that wave, like there weren't many people already doing that. And so it was having to start from scratch to find a group of people. And I definitely leaned on the small handful of people that I knew and tried to build friendships from that. And I feel like that was really the starting point that helped me meet friends of friends and grow a circle that I could get to know better. And then there was an arc period where after a year into living in New York, then I was like, okay, who do I feel are like very good lifelong friends that I feel like I should invest in and build stronger? And so I went through that period too, which we can talk about more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's definitely that, like moving cities, there's definitely, you make the effort to meet new people and say yes to like, I guess some people call it like bids for connection. So like whenever someone invites you out, at least when I first moved, I always try to say yes to like everything. But then after maybe 6 months to a year, you start to like know who you like and don't like, and you don't feel like you need to say yes to everything anymore, in my opinion.
Saying yes to everything, it's also was a great like life experience too, because I was like, am I happy by saying yes to everything that everybody wants? And then I started feeling like, am I being a people pleaser? And then I think that was also a turning point in just personal development, where I started drawing more boundaries. And I think that's another area that I feel like is a lesson that I learned from making friends here.
I feel like I also had to go through that, but I had to first learn to like flex the muscle of saying yes to things, because I feel like I wasn't used to doing that before. But I had to really make the effort because I moved cities multiple times in like the past 2 to 3 years. Wait, I can talk a little bit about how it feels different even in New York versus Boston, I would say. Maybe you can do New York versus Bay Area, but I would say like things feel very spontaneous in New York. Like invites will pop up like 2 hours before, or you'll just be like at a party or at someone's social gathering, and then you'll be like, oh, let's all go do this together, and then people will just rally and go. Whereas I don't think other cities seem to have that sort of spontaneity to it. I think it's like a product of everyone living close together and there being like high density, but also like people being willing to experiment and say yes to things.
And a lot of people not being from New York, so they want to experience the city. And like, and
everyone's making a bid for connection with each other. And I think if you are not open to that, you are probably less likely to move to New York, actually.
I think part of it too is, given a lot of people are transplants into New York, they come for a reason, and that's like the bid for connection. It's to build community. It's to feel inspired by other people. Because New York is a very difficult place to be in some ways, and I think having that community really adds to experience and feeling like you're part of like a place.
I definitely felt it was really tough, I think, in the first half year to year that I moved here. I think it was something about like friendships like churning, not feeling like I belonged to a certain friend group. But then after the first year, I started really, really enjoying it.
Did you feel like you were kind of like settled in like finding the people that you wanted to spend more time with? I think like what we talked about are some of the pros. Some of the cons of like friendship culture here, I think one of those being like, it can feel very transient. Like a lot of people, because it's a transplant city, like people move in for like a year or two sometimes, and they leave to different places, and so it can be hard to find people that you feel like can be like long-term, lifelong friends. But at the same time, like there is a population of people who want to build strong, deep connections and find lifelong friends. So I think taking the time to find those people, and like being proactive about meeting and getting to know them is like a really important step.
Yeah, I agree. Like finding the right people quickly, it's kind of hard to do. It takes some reps. But then New York also has like a big eating and drinking culture, which is like both a pro and a con. Like, I guess when I first moved here, I felt like a lot of the friendship meetups that I would have were over dinner or over lunch. So it was like going out to dinner or lunch like 4 or 5 times a week. The pro is that the food here is really good. But I think the con is that it gets old kind of quickly.
Yeah, that definitely.
And going out is fun. Yeah.
There's definitely were initial activities that I did too a lot. And it still is common, especially when meeting new people. But I think over time, like you come to realize that there are niche and like small activities that don't involve eating and drinking that are also very enjoyable. Like of course, there's like the arts. So like going to galleries or like going to museums or like music. Like there's so many different activities that can be done that don't involve eating and drinking. And so I think it's also about taking the time to find those and like connecting over the interests that you have with other people.
I agree. Yeah. And things can add up really quickly. So I think I became more conscious and like became better about tuning out what was like a worthwhile piece of spend versus like I don't really need to go. Yeah. But in the beginning, I think I went to everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's also kind of going back to the saying yes versus no, like putting the boundaries and doing like realizing what you want like to do. Yeah.
But I feel like I don't know if the spontaneity is unique to New York, but it definitely wasn't there in Boston. Like things were planned several weeks in advance. It's also Boston was like a more family oriented city. Yeah. So like a lot of the population was older. I feel like there's a huge like 20 to 30-year-old population in New York. And it's less family oriented.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of why maybe it's easier. Like everyone's like a lot more people are looking for the same things. Yeah, I think it's interesting like how a culture, like the culture of a city kind of defines the experience. Yeah, the culture of the city just happens to be like very active and going out and doing things.
Wait, maybe talk about the culture of the Bay Area and like what people like to do there, how it's different than here, why you liked it or didn't like it.
Yeah. So I think when I was in the Bay, I think the culture living in San Francisco was definitely kind of similar in the sense it was like felt a lot slower. Okay. Definitely needed to plan things more in advance too. And I think my friends also weren't all living in San Francisco. Okay. They were living in like East Bay and like South Bay and along the peninsula. So just proximity was one thing. It's just I think that also lent itself to making plans like weeks in advance versus spontaneously. Yeah. I think another big aspect is the public transportation. Okay. In New York City, it's like very easy to get one place to another within less than 30 minutes. Yeah. Versus in the Bay, it's like I actually Ubered a lot more. Okay. I like transportation is just not as built out as in here. Okay. So I think that lent itself to also feeling like, oh, like I don't want to go out. I think another aspect too is just the nature of the city being that way. Like, people do tend to like not commit. Like they'll be like, oh, I'm gonna go, and then last minute say, oh, just kidding, I want to stay home.
Oh, that's kind of annoying. Yeah, I don't like that at all. Yeah.
For some reason, I feel like people like here, at least people, there's a general understanding to like not waste people's time and like not flake as much. Like And I felt like it was more common in the Bay for like it was a culture that it's okay to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's also a good topic, like flaking in New York. This is my take on it. If you have a group of 6 or more, it's actually okay to flake because it doesn't matter.
Right.
But if it's like a 2 or 3 person thing, if you flake at me more than twice, I don't think we would be friends anymore. I don't know if that's like your view on it.
I agree. Yeah. I think to that point, because there's so much more volume of people and potential to make friends here, there isn't a strong need to maintain friends that aren't good people.
Yeah.
If they aren't good people, it's like, okay, like you don't align with my values, it's okay, like we'll go our separate ways and it'll be fine, like we'll make new friends. Versus in the Bay, like I felt like, oh, it's like the volume was a lot less, so there kind of was like a scarcity mindset, like oh, like you're not the best friend, but I'll still be friends with you because it's hard to make friends here.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't think I've thought about it that way before, but I think it's probably true.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that like something about America suffering a loneliness epidemic. Okay, I don't think it's true for us in New York, but I can see why that would be the case in the suburbs.
Yeah. Yep. I think it's definitely true. And that's another reason why I feel like being in New York has taught me so much about just like doing what you want and aligning with your values, like aligning your actions with your values, and even the people you meet and spend time with, aligning them with your values. So I feel like,
I think in New York there's really no pressure to like force yourself to like be friends with someone that you don't vibe with, or force yourself to be in a friend group that you don't vibe with.
Right.
Like, because there's a billion options out there.
Yeah.
You can always go do something else.
Yeah. There isn't really scarcity mindset here. It's like it's mainly abundance mindset.
Yeah. I mean, not for friends. I think there's definitely scarcity mindset in other ways. But
how so?
I don't know. I feel like this like money culture here makes it hard to keep up, or like the perception of everyone having a lot of wealth around you. You should not feel forced to keep up with it, or else you'll start having scarcity mindset, in my opinion, because you'll be spending more than your means. Yeah. Because everyone around us, I don't know. It's because you interact with so many people, but like people are constantly going on glamorous overseas trips. People are constantly eating at the very best restaurants. You go to a sports game here, tickets are like $500 a person or something like that. Yeah. Going to the US Open, getting like prime seats, they're like $500, $600 a seat. So I think in that sense, like, you do have to be selective about what actually fulfills you. Yeah. But yeah.
Kind of going back to the values. Yeah. It's very true. That's a good point about like just living in New York. I think the biggest hardship is how expensive it is. And therefore like the lifestyle can be extremely expensive. So everybody is kind of spending so much money. And so it's hard. I think it's not easy to live here when you feel like it's like you have to kind of live up to this societal like expectation. Definitely I agree with that.
But I think that's why it's important to have friends who are like sort of on the same page about what you can say yes to doing and what you can not say yes to doing. And that's another way to like scope out like the group that you fit with. That's actually a good topic, which is this is kind of a controversial topic though, which is like, do you feel like your friends need to be similar to you in terms of like socioeconomic level in order to have a long and maintained friendship with them? Because for me, this is controversial, but I will say yes. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so too. At least it doesn't have to be like exact same level, but like within a range.
Yeah.
Because I think when it comes to friendship, like when you're deepening friendships or like spending time together, you want to make sure that the lifestyle and like the activities that you do are aligned with both of your interests. And if one is like drastically different, then it's hard to maintain the friendship when it doesn't feel natural for you.
It's very difficult, I think, because it's difficult to in the long term, because you want to do activities that you both enjoy.
Yeah.
And you don't want to feel like you're excluding, like, if you're best friends, or you don't want to feel like you're excluding someone from your circle or your group. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you had an experience where you had to like break off friendships because of that?
I wouldn't say like break them off, but I do feel like I'm not able to like hang out or have fun with them as frequently. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like that leads to, I think frequency is a really important thing when you're like maintaining a friendship. So I think that leads to maybe like a little more distance between us.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still friends with people. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like if you want to go to a really nice restaurant, but you don't want to like put people in a tough situation,
Yeah.
you have to be thoughtful, in my opinion, about things like
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Controversial topic though.
What other like things that you look for when you're like building friends or like that you care about? Like what qualities?
Shared interests. I think it's okay to have different friends for different shared interests. And then, but like for long-term friends, values for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of values?
Wait, you go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I really value people who have strong integrity. I think that's
Okay, yeah.
like one of the key things. So like someone who has a strong moral compass.
What would be
who's-
an example of like not strong integrity?
I think
Like a hypocrite?
like hypocrite, someone who talks behind your back.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Someone who doesn't like align their actions to their words, like they're just all talk but no action. Someone who like does things to like hurt other people, either directly or indirectly.
Okay.
And especially
Like does the intention matter?
yeah.
So if they didn't mean to, you wouldn't consider it bad.
Okay, yeah, I think the intention definitely matters.
Okay,
Like if
okay.
they made a one-off mistake and it hurt someone and they owned up to it, then that's okay.
Okay.
But if they're knowing that they're probably hurting someone but they're still moving forward with it, then that's someone that has like low integrity.
Okay. I'm not saying I'm the most self-aware person in the world, but when I feel like people are very not self-aware, it bothers me a little bit.
Yeah.
Or I do think I like people who are more realistic. I don't like it when things are very up in the clouds all the time. I don't
Yeah.
mind it, but I think I appreciate people who are more grounded in reality. And then, I'm trying to think. Definitely people whose actions live up to their words. It bothers me when people are not reliable. Because if you're not reliable, I feel like I can't trust you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a layer of more commercial relationships now, or like commercial / superficial relationships now in my adult life that I did not have when I was younger. Like relationships that are like definitely mutually beneficial to both of us, for like the outer circle of friends, but not
Yeah.
someone that I would necessarily consider like core values integrated into my daily life. I don't know if you
Yeah.
feel the same way.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
So there's kind of like different tiers. Like that's actually how I describe it to my
Yeah.
friends. Like there's the tier 1 to 5. Tier 1 is like your diehard, like your friends for life.
Yeah.
Core values are matching. And then there's like tier 2 where maybe like they're also like good friends, but maybe not as strong as the tier 1. And then there's tier 3, which are like the acquaintances. Maybe you see every once in a while. And then tier 4 is like are like the people that are there for your network, like maybe for professional reasons,
So
where
Okay,
Yeah.
what tier would you start finding it okay to have that commercial aspect of your relationship?
I think maybe tier 3 to tier 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I find it increasingly hard to separate commercial from, I don't know. I don't know if this is bad to say, but I feel like as I've gotten, not that old, but as I've gotten older, like into my later 20s, I feel like commercial also integrates into my friendships now in a way that it has not before. Yeah.
Like in terms of your like tier 1 and tier 2?
Maybe like tier 2
Yeah.
in your terms.
How so?
'Cause okay, would you put your friends from work in tier 4?
I think it depends how close I am with them.
Okay.
I maybe put them in some cases they could be tier 1 or 2. But
Okay.
I would say in general maybe tier 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like maybe this is like controversial, but I do feel like most of my friendships now have some sort of commercial aspect to them.
Like
at
there's like
least like
something
tier 2 onwards. Maybe this is going towards the professional side, but someone who is good to have in your professional network because you know that they have a big network. And then you can bounce like work ideas off of them or like business ideas off of them. But you're like, a lot of friends that I have now have both aspects where like definitely tier 2 onwards have both aspects because I've made friends at work, I would say.
Yeah.
But I feel like I didn't have that piece in my life before, probably because I wasn't in the workforce for a long time.
I think this makes sense. I feel like now as we're getting older and like becoming more established career-wise, everyone that you know, like close friends or not, like they're gonna have their own network.
And makes sense.
And it makes sense that like that's also like just you being friends with them is valuable. Yeah. But it's not like you're entering to be close friends because of their network. Like they have other aspects of like why you want to be friends with them.
But it's definitely like a different flavor than my friendships in college.
Because it's not like you're working as much back
exactly
then.
It was like we were just hanging out. Like
you like the same interests.
The vibes are good.
I think that makes sense, like to have even tier 1 friends that are like that. And like those are the people that will help you when like, especially if we're talking career wise, they're gonna be the ones that will stand up for you if you get laid off or if you're looking for a job. Like it's important to have friends that can have a network that can support you.
All that is to say, I feel like I undervalued the power of a network when I was younger. But I still probably am not very good at it today. So
that's another topic we could talk about is like networking and career.
We could talk about that at a later time. Okay. I can state my controversial opinion up front.
Okay.
I don't believe in having, I guess in your terms, tier 1 guy friends.
Okay.
Yeah. I do have guy friends that are in tier 2 and 3.
Okay.
Onwards,
And tier 2 and 3 are still pretty close.
Tier 2 is like pretty good.
Yeah. What are these, like how would you describe these guys friends that are in tier 2 and tier 3?
They're like my work colleagues that I like see on a daily basis.
Okay.
Cool people, fun to hang out with. Or like they're my previous work colleagues that I would see like all the time. I think like frequency and repetition really is how you build a friendship, to be honest.
Yeah. That's a good point.
But I don't believe in having them for tier 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think my viewpoint on this has evolved. Like,
oh, interesting.
It's not like totally flipped. But okay, so I would say when we first talked about this, it was when it was maybe my first or second year in New York.
Oh yeah.
And I was in that period of like trying to build community, making friends. I wanted to make a lot of new friends, and actually a good percentage of those were like guys and girls. And I would say like a lot of those friends are really good people, but then nowadays I have also cut a lot of both
Okay.
guys and girlfriends.
Okay.
I would say I can see why it's controversial because, like, I think from your perspective, like, there isn't such thing as being platonic. Like, a close guy friend may not.
In my
be fully
opinion,
platonic.
no, because in my opinion, every guy will still sleep with you if they were given the opportunity. Which is like not. It doesn't matter if they like you or not.
Yeah.
Like, they would still do it. Which, in my opinion, makes it not platonic.
Yeah.
And not worthy of, like, a tier 1 friend.
Yeah.
Unless they are gay. I could see the argument for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think when I think about my tier 1 guy friends, they're all in relationships, they're married, or they're gay. I don't have very many single guy friends anymore.
I
Yeah.
can see what. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think my viewpoint on this is I actually, like, inherently, when I started dating and, like, having a boyfriend, like, I actually reduced the number of single guy friends that I had.
Was that intentional, or
I think
like, why?
I think it's kind of going back to what you're saying, like this inherent feeling that a single guy probably has fully platonic interests. Well, this was a really good topic to talk through. We talked about, like, moving and making friends and what we look for and how we became friends.
Different cities, different stereotypes, our friendship, what we look for. We yapped for a long time.
Yeah. This is such an important and big topic.
Okay, so be on the lookout for our next episode, but we hope you enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
Okay, adios.
All right, bye.
Bye.